Hello and welcome back to Civilization Beyond Earth, Rising Tide. I'm Chris Cavalier. We are continuing our tutorial of Civilization Beyond Earth with the Rising Tide expansion. Again, this is not meant to really be a playthrough, but I am playing through like I regularly would. I am playing at a much easier difficulty, just to give people an idea, especially if you're getting started, of what you need to do, what you need to take a look at for the text, how do you get around, and figure stuff out. Because the game is seriously, it is very overwhelming, especially when you're first starting it. I purchased the game right when it was released, which was, I don't know, I guess almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. And I got it, and it looked very confusing. I started to play it, and it just was not as polished as Civilization 5. I really enjoy Civilization 5. I play the heck out of Civilization 5. And it just wasn't Civilization 5, and so I, 10, 12 hours played into it. I set it down, and I have not picked it up till Dark Rising, before Rising Tide came out. I have something about Dark Tide Rising. Was that the name of a movie or what? I don't know. I seem to be fixated on that. There's something wrong with me. Okay, so anyways, here we are again. We're at 4 population. We have 18 turns before we gain a new population. We are building a recycler, which I am very excited about. I know that's pretty crazy. We have an explorer over here that is trying to heal up because we're trying to get to this. What exactly is that? A derelict settlement. Which I can think of a few jokes with that word, but we're not going to go into that. And then we also have an explorer out here that was getting some pods, and I think is currently, are they doing an expedition or what? I don't remember what he's doing. And we have our cutter out here, not a cutter, it's a patrol boat. I think it becomes a cutter next. For some reason I call it cutter half the time. And we did look at our artifacts, and we decided that we were going to hold off, just because I think there's some better options out there. Not that that was a bad one. Look at these aliens. That is crazy. That is crazy. Okay, so what we decided to do was to, let's see, we're going to excavate this. Yeah, you have a nice, easy excavation. You jerk. Okay, we're going to go over here and just kind of take a peek. What I got going on? Oh, I missed a resource pod there. Oh boy, can someone get to it? One of the things I do like to do is actually bring my naval units along the shore. You can kind of see some cool stuff. And when you get your ranged naval unit, which I could have built, it just takes longer to build, and they're not quite as hardy as the patrol boat, as I actually will attack aliens from the safety of the water and just, blast them to, what. Okay, so let's keep on going. Keep on doing our thing. Okay, so aliens detected near Central. Okay, thanks for that. I do need messages like that occasionally to let me know the obvious. Okay, so we're on the verge of meeting them. The question is, do I want to meet them? So this is always a good question to ask, because right now I know where everybody's at. I can go find them on the map. So if I meet them, they will actually offer me deals, and I will be able to gain diplomatic capital. Also, if I meet them, they're going to form an opinion of me, of us, and that's actually going to bring us deeper into the game of what's going on. So we probably will go meet them, see what they have going on. So I can make it out to this tile, but I can't work it yet, so I'm not going to spend the money yet, just in case. You just, it's, don't spend the money until you have to, right? Isn't that the general concept? Don't spend it until you have to. That's a lot of aliens. Okay, so you are healed up. Oh man, what should I do? Let's go back and finish this. It's kind of annoying, but hopefully it's going to be the most rewarding and worm-free experience of our lives, which... How can I not see them yet? Jungsing!
이렇게 방문해 주시니 영광입니다. 세심한 배려로 모두 번영할 것입니다.
I was saying that just before I started the video. Just saying those exact words. Okay, so I'm going to show you some, or explain, I should say. Besides, he has kind of a fancy suit there. The black on black with the red highlights, you gotta like that. Anyways, so another important concept in the game, which is new with the rising tide, not the dark tide rising, with the rising tide, is going to be respect, and it's going to be fear. And you can see these two indicators right here that explain that. So, respect is going to be, do they respect you or not? Do you have behaviors that are, aligned with theirs? Or do you have awesome production in your cities, and they, it's a little bit of fear, but it's some respect. They can respect your production, they can respect your culture. They can also disrespect these things. They can respect your energy production. Oh, I guess they can respect the amount of population you have within your civilization, within your faction, if you will. So anyways, a lot of things factor into that. Every few turns, you're going to get little messages that say, hey, you're pretty cool. I have more respect for you. Or they start insulting you because they don't have any respect for you. Like they'll tell you that your cities are bare. That it's like a desert. It's like there's like nobody there. So they get kind of mean, and it hurts my feelings. But anyways, this is how you tell whether or not they like you or not. It's on a scale. I don't know if it's 0 to 9 or 1 to 9. Obviously, when you get down towards the 0 and the 1, they basically they will start to attack you. This is kind of your way to determine whether or not you're going to end up going to war with somebody or not. Granted, there are other factors, but this is a good way to determine. And sometimes, if they have no respect for you, and they're on the other side of the map, and there's no way in 400 turns will they make it to you and take out your capital. They'll go to war with you, and then somebody will have to wipe peace out eventually. And the wipe peace out is just going to mean that no one's going to gain any spoils or any rewards from peace, which usually there are rewards and losses when you go to figure out those type of deals. And then their fear is going to be based on combat strength. And there could be some other factors involved, but primarily it's going to be your combat strength of your units. It's going to be affected by your promotions. It's going to be affected by how strong a units you may have. And I'm sure someone knows the exact formula, but just to give you a basic idea. So if their fear drops down to say 1, that means that their army, their military, could crush yours, probably. Granted, a human player on all but probably say Apollo level is going to have, be able to outthink or outmaneuver typically the AI. When you get towards those higher levels, they may give them some bonus hit points. It just makes combat tougher. But anyways, this is a big factor in kind of letting you know where am I at with my military. So sometimes you may want to build up your military if they start insulting it, because they may see that as a sign of weakness, and they may attack you. And when you don't have a good military and they attack you, that typically goes downhill fast. So anyways, that's some factors there. It does tell you what they have for affinity levels, what their current diplomatic capital is, how much they're making per turn. So basically he's just saying hi, so okay, thanks. But if we go back in here, this is another concept we probably should take a look at. No, we'll wait on that. But here we can actually go, well, I guess we could discuss potential arrangements with them. So you can see here, if we wanted to pay 150 of our 194, just as an opening talk, we could increase our science costs for branch technologies by 6%, which is pretty significant when you get to some of those. And that would cost us 15 per turn, so basically that would last us all of like, what's that, 2 turns? At 2 or 3 turns, depending on how when it starts per turn. So, not worth doing. We can't even do that because we don't have 250 diplomatic capital. What about with her? Oh, I should mention the other thing that you can do, besides discussing these potential agreements that you have, which right now they're not worth doing, is we can also browse all potential agreements, which will have all the people that we know, and then all the potential agreements, and then we could say try to work out a deal. You also gain some respect once you do a deal. So if you're getting down there where you're losing the respect with somebody and you don't want to go to war with them, always look at trying to make a deal with them to try to stave off the inevitable, if you will. Or, I mean, you may find a way to turn it around. But that is something that is important to know. Again, they also have their traits down here, so if you tend to have similar traits, or if you want to align with somebody or try to team up with somebody, you can kind of work it so you're thinking the same, and maybe you can be friends. Because sometimes they'll just come out and say, hey, our cultures are so different, it's not going to work out. And you just kind of know that you're probably going to have some type of conflict with them eventually. Again, at the lower difficulties, this isn't quite as important. When you play in the harder difficulties, this becomes, very important, trying to figure out how to play this diplomacy game of, I want this guy to attack me, but I don't want this guy to attack me. And then sometimes the different AI opponents won't like each other, so if you make a deal with one, it'll end up making the other one upset, and so you kind of have to figure out who you can play off of. And typically, like 2 of them are friends, and they're enemies with everybody else on average. It's a lot like Civilization 5 in that regard, where you kind of have to figure out who's aligned and how everything kind of works with that. Let's see here, what else can we look at? We can look at our affinity, which right now it's nothing in any direction. And then we can unlock some perks with that. So yeah, if we pick up, if we do some of this hybrid stuff, it shows here if we have 2 purity, 2 harmony, we get +1 culture per level of harmony or purity. And we can reduce our unhealth and all that kind of stuff. So you can do some things if you really want to work these. It's kind of fun. I mean, there's no way someone's probably going to win the game if they have 10 purity and 10 harmony. I mean, at that point, someone else probably has won the game, but you're going to have 25% production towards military units while losing. Okay, so that's that. I kind of wanted to go over that. We're going to get into some other things with the diplomacy. Maybe this video. I don't know. It depends how far we get. Okay, so now our worker does have availability to begin working a tile. So what we want to do is go into our city management screen. For 75 energy, we can unlock this tile and start to work it. And since it is a 2 food, 1 production tile, and it doesn't have a siege worm, we're going to buy it and work it. Not necessarily the way I wanted to go, but the siege worm sometimes will redirect the best of intentions. So now with an algae farm, its special, or its, I don't know what you want to call it, its improvement specific to that type of tile is going to be the work barge, which will give us +1 energy for that tile. Is that what we want? So right now it is doing, let's see, where do we put our solar thing? It's right here, so it's not hitting that. So that's actually about the same as these tiles. So if we give it a farm, it'd be +3 food, 1 production, and then 1 energy. If we go with the energy, or not the energy, but the barge, it would be 2, 1, 2, which would be the 2 food, 1 production, 2 energy. I'm thinking let's go with the food. Let's go with the food. You can always eat. You can't eat money. If you didn't know that one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just... Why? Somehow that ate all your movement. Not really sure what I did. Okay, so you are back here, and we got the siege worm. Great. He may not survive. Okay. The siege worm can be a little bit unpredictable. So, 10 turns, we're actually going to have to take another respite from our digging. Okay, so why are you getting your movement eaten like that? I don't know. It could be I moved him and I just didn't realize I moved him again or something. So we're just going to go cruise around these guys, avoiding attacking any of them. So if I had just... No, you saw I just moved 1 tile at a time. If I just moved 4 off into like the unknown, I would just go straight up and attack them. And these are the things that I actually end up attacking all the time. I'm like, oh, I just want to hurry up and move my 4, move my how many units I have, and you attack one of them, and then all of a sudden your explorer here Gets alien dragons, sea dragons coming and attacking you, so you have to be careful when you're moving into a previously undiscovered tile. Okay, so we're going into our virtues again. So now we need to figure out what we want to do. Which now always gets to be a little bit more interesting. So those are typically the first three virtues that I really like to take. The standardized architecture is nice. It works a lot like the Romans do in Civilization 5, where any building they have in their capital, building it in any subsequent city, it's going to be like a 25% reduction in production costs. So it works exactly the same as that. So then if we look at investment, that would give us a 1% of stockpiled energy amount every turn up to 100. 1% of what, 300, that's 3. So that's, I don't know, I guess it's somewhat okay. I tend to spend my energy down to 0 at times, so that's not quite as big, although that would allow me to jump through quite a bit. Otherwise I have to go this way. What's this one? Give us some health for our trade units. Health is not as big of a factor in the lower difficulties, I don't think. Obviously you gotta do something for it, but... So I may actually skip those two. So then it comes down to... I could actually work on my growth. Or I could go back and start working science to some degree. Which is probably not bad. This first one just... I don't know, tends not to be quite as useful. Or we could go with adaptive tactics. We're going to do some combat anyways. Let's go ahead and take adaptive tactics. Do I want to take that now, though? The question is, will I wait long enough? Well, if I start going down there, I can actually get some cool stuff. So let's go ahead and take it. So now if we go into fights, we're going to gain XP twice as fast. Which we're not going to start fighting yet. Not quite yet. Okay, let's go ahead and clear out some of this area. Okay. Okay, so he's still doing his thing. I might as well have you go over here, kind of check out the shore. I like to get an idea of what's going on with the other cities. For the simple fact, I start thinking, if I have to attack them, if I'm going to take them over, what do I need to do? So these guys, since they are in a aquatic-based civilization, you can see here they're on the shore, but they're actually in the water. So if I don't have a soldier built, but say I had a melee land-based unit, and I brought him down here, I can't actually take the city. I can't attack him from the water with a melee-based unit. I can't have a melee-based land unit move from this tile to there. You're stuck. Your guys can't swim, and they can't make an attack on it. So that's something very important to note when you're looking at, if I'm going to attack them, how am I going to do it? And right now, I would not have an effective means of attacking that city. Well, I guess I would. I guess I do have my patrol boat. My patrol boat could take the city. In fact, that's bringing up a whole question here. So you really can't do a fake attack and see. Yeah. It doesn't tell you if you could take it or not. But I bet with a patrol boat and 1 or 2 of the ranged naval units, I bet I could take that city. However, I don't have any ranged naval units at this time. I wonder how much they would cost to buy. A gunboat is 720 energy. We don't have that. It would cost 7. Okay, by the way, you can buy units or buildings with capital or energy. Maybe I should explain this a little bit better here. So right now, we're not producing anything, but we can go into our city management screen and say we want to purchase a unit, a building. That's pretty much all you can do. And you can't purchase every unit or every building. Like a trade depot, you can't purchase. A trade convoy, I'm not so sure about it. I know the trade depot you can't purchase. So now, when we go to look at purchasing an item, or a unit, or a building, I should say, I can purchase this explorer. He will spawn right now, and he will be 300. He'll cost me 320 energy. I don't want an explorer right now. I'm not going to spend 320 energy to get him, but you could if you wanted to. If I wanted to buy a submarine, 620 energy, but I don't have those kind of funds quite yet. Now the other thing you can do is you can purchase with diplomatic capital. And so the numbers are going to be different. So a worker here for diplomatic capital is 630. With energy it's 420. So different things. I'm not sure if there's a... Anyways, you can purchase either way. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to accept any diplomatic agreement that the AI or the computer or my opponents will throw at me, and I will save that diplomatic capital and use it to purchase things that I want. And so basically it acts like a reserve, or it acts like, I don't know, it acts like another form of cash, basically, another form of money, another way to get things that you want. So that is something to consider when you have diplomatic capital, is using it to purchase things, especially in the later game. You can sort of, I don't know, make it look like you don't have a whole lot going on in a certain city. And you know, it doesn't work real fast because you can only purchase one military unit or one building in a city at a time. Actually, I think you could purchase multiple buildings, but for a unit, it's going to basically spawn and then it's not going to be able to move, so you can't purchase a unit if there is another unit of that type. And by type I mean a military unit or a non-combat, like a worker. I mean, you can't purchase multiple ones in the city if there is another unit already there. Maybe I should just explain it better. So if you have a soldier in your city, you can't purchase any type of military unit in that city. You could purchase attack jet because it kind of works differently. But you can't purchase a soldier or any type of, I don't know, land-based unit. Same with if you have a naval unit in there, you can't purchase another naval unit in there. If you move them out, you could purchase it and then, figure that out. But anyways, those are good ways to make purchases on units or buildings. So I'd like to save up my diplomatic capital for that in many cases. Okay, so now we have a station, and a station sort of works like a city-state in Civilization 5, where this thing's going to drop down. So we can choose which one we're going to approve, basically. It says, which venture would you like to approve? So down here it doesn't say a whole lot, but up here we can go, oh, so if Church of Dawn's Light is here, if we do a trade route with them, we'll get 1 food, 3 culture. If we do Adept Blue, it'll be 2 food and 2 science. Well, I really like the science, so we're going to go with Adept Blue. So it's going to land near our territory, which is good for trade routes. You can't build a city within like 2 tiles of them. You can't build a city within 3 tiles of another city. So you can build fairly close to them, but lots of times they end up taking a spot I like. So that always upsets me. This case, however, I think we're okay. It looks like they got silica on both sides of them. Okay, so now we get to pick our next thing that we want to build. What I think we're going to do is we're going to go with the laboratory. Get some extra science going. See where our physics is almost done. When our physics is done, see, we could potentially build a observatory. Let's see. No, we're not going to be able to. Basically, we're just going to build our ranger. Okay, so who else can move? You need to move. What do you know? Alien nest. So if I would have clicked on that, it would not have stopped. It would have just went straight into attacking. So you got to be very careful about that. Might just have you go out this way, kind of look around. You are still alive. Excellent. Next turn. Okay, so we got something there. Maybe go back around here. Let's go ahead and do our next turn. Okay, so our expedition recovers 80 production, so it should pretty much finish whatever we have going on there. Now what do we do with you? You are out of modules, so we need to have you start going back to town. Look at that. So anybody can actually pick up the resource pods. One of my favorite... Oh, and we just took it right in front of his face. So we pick up 40 energy and we pick up another artifact, so we're going to have to go look at that. Anyways, that was rather fortunate that we were able to pick that up for them. And it totally got me off my line of thought of what I was going to say. Anyways, that's probably not important. Okay, you are still alive. You need to go back and get supplies. And so, of course, for when I should probably elaborate on this. So an explorer has expedition modules. Basically, it's going to come down to they have enough supplies to do one expedition. Is all they have to do is go into town, and then they can leave immediately, and they'll refill their expedition supplies. So now with the expedition supplies, starting out the game, you're going to have one. So you can do one expedition, and then you have to go back to town if you want to do more expeditions. So there are ways to actually boost that up, so you can have additional expedition modules. I guess I really don't need to go into how you go about getting them. Some of them are through technology, some of them are through quest options. Just know that you can actually improve that. You probably go into the Civilpedia and probably learn a little bit more about that, but I don't think we're going to go into that kind of depth. The other thing I was going to mention, which I was hoping we'd run into the situation and we just haven't. What is this over here? Okay, that's not it. Crash satellite. Probably a solar collector. So, with the resource pods that you find, is it the resource pods? The resource pods. So some of the resource pods can be hidden up in the Arctic regions. And they may be in a spot that are totally inaccessible to pretty much everybody but flying creatures, hovering vehicles, or submarines. Submarines can go underneath the ice. So sometimes you'll see something, you're like, how do you get to that? Well, your submarine might have a chance of getting to it. And then also, if you do an expedition on some alien skeletons that you may see, I'm not seeing any. Not seeing any. Why not? Oh, well, anyways, they're going to be something that you can do an expedition on. What's that? That's not it. They're going to look like that, but smaller. But smaller. Anyways, they are... they'll say like alien skeleton or something like that. Right here's one. This is a perfect example. So if you find one of those, you do an expedition on it. I'm not sure if there's a chance or if you always get an alien. So you can get some different types of aliens. In the water, you're obviously either going to get an aquatic-based alien or you're going to get an alien that can fly. If you get one that can fly, and you don't have a whole lot of aggro, and lots of times the aliens are kind of nice because they don't really draw a whole lot of aggression. You can have them fly around the Arctic regions and pick up these resource pods that nobody else can get to. And they're also great for exploring. It's actually, if I have a choice of grabbing any type of expedition early on in the game, it's always the alien skeletons, because you have a chance of getting what's a drone. And I don't see any out here, but basically it's going to be a flying alien, and they're really useful, especially early in the game. You can actually explore the entire map with them. You know, it takes forever, but they're really cool to have. I digressed a little bit on that one. I was hoping we'd run into one and I could show you, but you know, stuff doesn't always work out that way. And man, those things are just, I don't know what you want to call it, they're breeding, or they're rather plentiful. Okay, so where are we at here? Production, what do we want to build? So now we have finished our physics, so now we can definitely look at a submarine. Submarines are kind of interesting, so they are going to be invisible. Certain things can spot them. Typically, if they come up and shoot somebody, they're going to be spotted, but you know, they're nice for their surprise attack, but their damage is nowhere near what a gunboat does. It's nowhere near what a patrol boat does. They're really nice for scouting, though. They move kind of slow, but they're good scouts. Okay, so now I think we could build a Ranger. The launch complex is nice if you're going to do lots of orbital type of things, but at this point it's not really going to show us much. So let's get out a Ranger. It'll add some defense for our city, and then we also need to pick a new tech. So where are we at with our techs? So we went chemistry, we went physics, so now we're going to pick out our third tech. What I typically like to do now is probably go pioneering and try to get our colonist and our trade convoy and our trade depot. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go with our pioneering. So I went chemistry, physics, pioneering. And again, you know, going with pioneering a little bit earlier than that would not be wrong. It just, I don't know if you have enough defenses to protect your colonists if you send them out. I don't know, I think this is that's pretty solid play. So the other thing we want to start being aware of is we have manage my personality traits. So once we get to 230 diplomatic capital, we can go in and unlock 3 different trees, basically. I should call them trees since they don't necessarily work like that, but you can open up a different category, a different trait for domestic, military, and political. Our character one has already been chosen for us. We have covert operations 30% faster and require 1 less intrigue level to attempt. So that's already been set for us. So we need 230 diplomatic capital. We're at 229. So 1 turn, and then we can select one if we choose, which we probably will. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to end the video, which hopefully I don't talk about for 3 hours. Okay, 1 big swig of water before I start jabbering. Okay, so we have another item that we can work there. You're going to go ahead and move up on the land since you don't have much of anywhere where you can go. Where are you doing, Miasma boy? 20 hit points, and right now that space is open. How many turns do you have left? 4 turns. Let's move you back. And so I'm not ending the video with you on Miasma because I'll forget. Sometimes you have to make some adjustments. Okay, so this is what we need to look at. We're going to go look at diplomacy. So as you can see, this diplomatic capital does a lot for us. So we could go browse all the potential deals that we could do, but they're going to cost us diplomatic capital up front, and then they're going to cost us so much per turn. And basically, all of these deals are going to cost us more per turn than we currently make. So that's basically, none of these are going to work for us. So then the other option is that we could actually save it and buy something. I mean, let's go take a look to see how much that would cost. Let's say we wanted to buy a gunboat. So we want a gunboat. It would cost us 1,080 diplomatic capital. We're making 5 per turn. It's going to take us a year to get there. Right now, we're not making much diplomatic capital, so that is probably not an option. But if we go here and manage our personality traits, you can see here for 230 we could upgrade, so our covert operations complete 40% faster. However, we don't have any covert operatives at this time, so that is somewhat null and void. So we can add a personality trait for diplomatic, for domestic, military, or political. So let's take a quick look at them. So we're all going to have 3 tiers to them. I'll just run through them quickly so we can increase our food yield, and of course it's going to be like all like 8, 10, and 15%, you know, around there. We'd increase our overall health, which can be somewhat nice, and you can actually go ahead and change these out with their character trait. You can't. I should show you this. So here it says it's locked. If I actually select one of these afterwards, I can go to switch and I can go down a different tree. So you may want to say pick one and then change it later. And if you make enough diplomatic capital, you can do that. You know, because it may make sense to have ones that help you build up your city faster or help you through a war or something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So city energy yield increased by 8%. You know, that's, you know, it could be useful. The science yield could be useful. The global health could be useful at certain times. Production, you know, all those are they're decent. Political, you know, these ones I don't tend to use quite as much. I obviously will end up taking one of them, just because you get to a point eventually where you need to. But these are all ones you get bonuses basically for agreements that you initiate. So you go to someone else and say, hey, I'll give you this much diplomatic capital if you give me X. Whatever X may be. So right now, a lot of these, you know, we're probably not going to do because it's going to cost money to initiate deals, or it's going to cost diplomatic capital to initiate deals. And right now we don't have enough to do that. So let's see, city plots, 20% cheaper to acquire with culture. So that would just make our border growth faster. Let's see, 10% conversion rate for city developments. You know, that might be something to... I wonder if that's actually the one that Alpha Law starts with, or... Yeah, that might... No, this might actually be an addition to that, so that might be powerful with them. I'm going to have to test it out. I haven't really played them too much. Okay, so yeah, cost to purchase units and buildings with energy reduced by 10%. This is awesome. This is actually one of my favorite ones out of all of them. So the generous trait under political, you can reduce the cost of buildings and units with, it's going to reduce their energy cost by 10, 20, or 30% depending on which tier you're on. Military units gain XP faster, so you could bump it up so your XP, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I'd imagine it'd be like 110% faster if you had the virtue and if you had the tier 3 of this. So, you know, you'd be gaining XP pretty fast. In some aspects that would be unbelievable. And let's go, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go and look at the military ones. Increase our defense. City plots are cheaper to buy with energy. Increased military unit production. Oh, and these ones are always fun. These ones kind of take the line of a lot of the military type of stuff. The military tree in Civilization 5, where you kill a unit, you get culture. You kill a unit, you get science. So that's what those two are right there, which are pretty neat. Energy maintenance for military units reduced by 20 to 30%, which that can be great, especially towards the end game when, say, you have like 50 units or so. Can really help you out with your money. So again, yeah, then you can have a bonus, you know, a bonus to strength and range strength for military units inside your orbital coverage. So sometimes increasing your orbital coverage with some of the, I'm not thinking of the text, but some buildings like that one that we're not using right now. And I might have to go see what the name of that is again. The launch complex. Orbital coverage around the city to increase by 3. So that would increase the range. Let me get back there. That would increase the range that we would get the bonus for this, where it says military units inside the friendly orbital coverage, you know, gain a +5 strength. So stuff like that. So you kind of have to pick that up. And I'm guessing that the friendly territory, yeah, this one, I'm not exactly sure how you interpret this. What's friendly territory and what's not? That one's a little bit difficult to figure out. Then you got ones that are trade related. You know, this combat stuff is actually kind of cool. You can really build it up. I've had games where I've really gone offensive and had wherever every unit I killed, you get XP from this. So you can get that up to 12. 12 science when killing a unit in combat. So if you combine that with, say, a virtue from here, because eventually you can move down this tree right here. So might, You go adaptive tactics, you go survivalism, and then you go scavenging. So earn 100% of an alien life form's base strength as science after killing it. So you combine that with the 12 science for killing it plus that, you can get 20, 26 science per kill, which is pretty cool. And a lot of times you'll end up getting, a new technology in the middle of the alien's turn, or when someone's attacking you or something. It's kind of funny. And then also you get 90 science from destroying alien nests. So you can see how you can really work that, where you can really build up your science by being very militaristic. So it's kind of a fun way to go. Anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to explain. Let's go ahead and actually pick one out. And I think what I'm going to do is go with political, and then go with the generous, which is going to give us cost to purchase units and buildings with energy reduced by 10%. Let's do that. And I have a very specific plan in mind for how that is going to work for us. Our diplomatic capital is now down to 4. Our energy, however, is at 443, and we're gaining 12 per turn. And I think this is probably a good place to stop. So we learned about diplomatic capital and all the crazy things you can do with that. We've also learned you always have to keep a watch on your explorer, because if they're standing in miasma, they could die. We have lots of aliens around us. Pretty soon they're going to basically be in the way, and we're going to have to do something. So hopefully we're going to get to combat pretty soon, and we're going to see how that works. As it's probably not as going to be as quite as exciting as maybe learning some of these other little things where I'm not exactly sure how diplomatic capital works, how virtues work. Combat's a little bit more straightforward, but we're definitely going to take a look at that to make sure that you are on the right path to knowing what to do when it comes to combat in Civilization Beyond Earth with the Rising Tide expansion. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please leave a like if you like the video. If you have any comments, any suggestions for helping people out starting in the game, I would more than appreciate any comments in there, or maybe say something that I totally missed, or something that I totally am botching. I don't mind the criticism. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.